to the Yelo podcast. Thank you so much for joining. Despite all that is going on in LA, you still made that time to join this podcast. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to come on here and help you with this venture.
So how you doing? How are you doing so far? I really sympathize with everything going on in LA right now. I can't imagine how hard it is, seeing everything, your community, even, but maybe you have also built something. Like, it's a very, very bad experience, and I'm really sorry about that. And I really hope the current administration is actually working to, counter climate change, because I believe this is all climate change.
No, I definitely agree. In terms of this administration, don't hold your breath. But in terms of LA as a community, this is one of the times where we definitely have banded together to help each other. It's been very encouraging to see. I mean, even for myself, I know that I went into my own drawer, my wife went into her drawer, and we went to our kids' drawers. We just found as many clothes as possible. We gathered neighbors, and we just loaded up my truck with a bunch of clothes, and I just drove to Altadena and just started looking for shelters to give it to and just
Oh,
places to donate. So I did that, I think for one day. I think I drove around for about 4 or 5 hours, just finding places that would take the stuff. But the problem was the reason why it took 4 to 5 hours was because so many people had donated. So many people had donated their time, their resources, clothing, food, everything. They were basically saying, we can't take any more stuff. So it took me hours to find somebody to actually
wow.
take the stuff off of our hands, which was beautiful to see.
Wow, wow. This is so good to hear. At this kind of a very depressing downtime, it's glad to see communities, rise up to help each other and not wait for the government to, help. So it's actually a good one. Yeah, I'm really glad that this not. I've not even heard about this on CNN or other stuff. It's usually the toxic and bad news, but hearing this is actually a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful to see. And even now, because so many people are going to have a hard time trying to recover from this, even people that have lots of means, it's very traumatizing to go back and see everything that you built for over decades just gone in a flash. Basically, going back to the climate change thing, it was really basically like a blowtorch that went through the area. It was like a perfect storm. So, not to get into details of that, but yeah, that's basically what it was.
And it keeps advancing. I was expecting by maybe when the firefighters come in and take down the fire, but each day I keep hearing like it came up again, another area, another area. It's very,
Yeah. It's but LA, we're resilient. We'll be fine. We survived massive earthquakes, we survived riots. We'll be okay. LA will be fine.
so how long have you been in, have you lived in LA? Because I hear lots, but despite this fire incident, I hear a lot of there's a hub of entertainment, it has a lot of fun places to visit, and I actually love to visit there one day. So how long have you been in LA?
Well, I was actually born and raised in LA,
Wow.
um, back in the day, and then I left when I went to school. Um, what, 26 years that I've
Wow.
been gone, and I just moved back several months ago. So for me, there's certain things that are new about the city. Obviously, as things evolve, things are going to get new, but at the same time, a lot of things are also the same. So that's why I brought my family here because, that part of LA that I grew up in, that good community, that part that you don't see on television, the part that's not straight out of Compton and the part that's not Hollywood and Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, kind of in the middle of that. It's actually a real LA that exists and real people that do real things.
Wow. So which part of the city would like me to visit or recommend for me to go to?
I would say for you, I would say the Leimert Park area, because that's an area where it's really focused on people of color and actually looking to uplift and empower the community. So that would probably be the first place that I would start to visit. Obviously, you got to get all your tourist stuff out of the way. So go see Hollywood, go see the Walk of Fame, go see the sign, go see Beverly Hills, go see the beaches. But you know, I would start with Leimert Park. That's not where I live, but I live close to there.
So I'll write everything down and I'll let you know when I come around. I will let you know, and I would like to see you though. There's this popular saying that if you go anywhere in the world and you don't say Nigerian, you have to run away from that place because we are so ambitious. We love traveling to better places, to for life, for better like green. How do you call it? Greener grass on the other side, basically. So have you met a Nigerian before?
But yeah, I went to Howard University for both of my degrees,
Oh,
so I've met plenty of Nigerians. In fact, one of my closest friends is Nigerian from the Igbo tribe. Let me see if I can say his name correctly. And here's the thing: before I say his name, ironically enough, we grew up a block from each other and didn't know each other until college.
wow.
So yeah, he's got a twin sister. His name is Ike Mefuna Chinedu Onisa Numba Udeze.
You got it right. You tried. You came with Funa. Oh, you tried. That's right. I was expecting you to, say something else, but you actually got the intonations well. Bravo.
All right, I've known him for over 25 years. I should have it at least 90% correct at this point.
Oh,
I mean, the guy was in my wedding, so I should know
oh.
how to say his full name at this point.
All right, all right. Okay, okay, let me introduce our guest. I've forgotten myself. Okay, so our guest for today is Rich Owens. He's a transformational leader with over 20 years of experience building teams from the ground up, saving over $100 million for organizations, and also bringing AI to life for Fortune 500 companies and startups. He's here to share his story with us. Welcome to the Yellow Room podcast, Rich. It's so nice to have you here. Thank you for joining.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here.
Okay, so you mentioned that your last contract was in May 2024, and since then you've been basically on the search for a job. And similar to my last contract was also May 2024, right? But I had a contract with the UN. It ended January. Then I had another one that ended May, but the second one was basically part time, not full time. And since then, I've applied to jobs. Like you said, I've followed all the best practices, done everything, and yes, nothing to show for it, right? Can you share with our listeners your experience so far since your last employment?
Yeah, I would say my experience has been pretty varied. I know that before my last contract was over with, I was still involved with the startup that I was dealing with on a pro bono basis as the fractional COO and the solution advisor. But I started looking at full-time roles as early as April of last year. And it was a little bit passive because the work that I was doing on the contract was pretty intense, so I couldn't really give a lot of dedication to it. I started getting interviews and started getting traction probably around the summer. But then with here in the US with the election and the global implications, it began a lot of companies said, okay, we don't know what's going to happen here. So maybe going into our next fiscal year, we probably need to just pause things. And a lot of companies didn't know what they were doing. So a lot of things really froze up. A lot of people I knew were having difficulty finding opportunities to get phone screens, let alone full on interviews and actually offers and be able to move to different companies. My wife was fortunate in that she was able to get a job because she's in sales and she was able to get a job this past summer and actually do a slight career switch into actual hunting from a sales perspective. Things worked out. Certain industries, certain functions were still doing well. But when it came to doing work like transformation, operations, things like that, it was a little bit harder for folks to find opportunities. I mean, people will basically say that we were in a white collar recession here in the United States. Basically, a lot of people just waiting on the election and understanding the implications depending on who won. But obviously, we know who won the election at this point. So now it seems like things are beginning to thaw out, but it's still hard because I would say in my time, using my boots on the ground networking opportunities, using AI technology to help expedite applications, I'll probably say I've applied to at least 1,000 jobs in the
Wow,
last several months, and I'll probably say I can probably count on one hand how many phone screens I've gotten out of that.
wow. The job market is so tough. Recently on LinkedIn, everyone is saying how it's no longer by how to get a job no longer by applying cold, that you have to reach out to the hiring managers, people hiring. But most times, even when I try reaching out to them, they don't reply. Like it's a very bad time to be right now. I can't even imagine how, particularly you. as a family man with your family, your children, your wife, how you're coping. Now to add with this incident, it's a very tough time.
Yeah, it's been very tough for me, emotionally, physically as well. Because before, when I was on the contract and everything was steady, I had a great routine. I was eating healthier. I was working out a little bit more. I just had things that just were easier to navigate because I had that structure. And now most of the times I'm waking up every morning figuring out, okay, what do I have to do today to try to figure out how to move things, keep things moving and move the needle. And honestly, I'll be honest with your listeners, I've actually lost about 15 pounds because of the stress. Because being an ectomorph and also being neurodivergent is already a higher level of anxiety when you're neurodivergent. And as a result, yeah, I've lost about 15 pounds due to the stress of not being able to find a job. In fact, like you hear on LinkedIn as well, there's been a lot of people in my same position where they say, you know, let me just go to Home Depot, let me just go to the hardware store, just go to the grocery store and get a job, and just to put some money in the bank account and just put food on the table. And a lot of them are getting rejected because you have a lot of people with experiences comparable to mine who are trying to do this, and they say, well, you're overqualified because we know that the moment you get a job you're out, and we need somebody that's long term to bag these groceries and move this stuff around the store. So it's even that option of just getting something to get over the hump has been a challenge for a lot of people here in America, regardless of color. So that, yeah,
So,
it's been a huge challenge here.
so how have you been coping so far, like with everything? Do you have maybe a side gig coming in or something based on financial? Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things I've tried to do is I try to start some ideas of my own. In fact, one of the things I did, one of my talents is actually music. So one of the things I do, I taught myself when I was about 16, 17 years old how to play piano keyboard.
You
And it
taught
was just
yourself.
something I just kind of kept up with yeah, I taught
Wow.
myself.
Hmm.
I would hear things that were played when I went to church, and I had the choir musician. I was in a youth choir. The musician would help me out and would show me stuff. And I say, "Oh, I want to learn how to play that." He said, "Okay, here are the chords. You play this, you play that, and you play this, and you play that, and try that." And then I would just start playing and just teaching myself after choir rehearsal, after church. I'll just learn and sit and learn and say, okay, I took these chords and me figure out how to play it. Oh, that sounds about right. Let me do that. And then when I was in undergrad, I actually took an intro to theory class so I can learn just the basics of theory, learn different chords. And, you know, somebody called out, oh, we're going to play this song in B flat. And then the number system, all those small things that I learned when I was younger, I would take, and then every once in a while I would compose music. In fact, what I did was I actually took a song that I composed a couple of years ago and actually put it out a few months ago. So it's actually up, not to give myself too much of a plug, but it's up on every major music stream. It's on Spotify, it's on Apple Music, it's on Amazon, it's on Bandcamp. I prefer you go to Bandcamp because I get paid first. But anyway, so that's one of the things that I've done. I've also looked at trying to put out different materials of things. My wife and I have talked about different entrepreneurial ventures. In fact, there's one that we're trying to start right now in relation to things that are happening here in the US. But I'll keep that a secret for now because I don't want people to know that it's me for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, I'm working with an author that I've gotten to know well over the decades, and actually thinking about actually writing my own book. It'll be an autobiography that talks about things that have happened in my life, but it's also a lessons learned book for parents and adults and parents and children who have ADHD.
Wow, wow. I'm so happy to actually hear that you're diversifying. You've been applying for jobs for a while and nothing is coming in, and you're not just sitting waiting for, you're actually going out. I made a post yesterday on LinkedIn concerning that we as job seekers, we are waiting. Like I literally waited the whole of 2024 for a job, and I knew how that affected me mentally and emotionally, literally waking up each day doing the same thing over and over again. And I don't just submit random applications. I submit to the only ones I'm passionate about because I'm into non-profit. I only submit to non-profits. I also take my time to read. Like I do everything to like the best of my knowledge. Yet rejection. So it affected me mentally. I literally cry every night because it takes a toll on you when you see that your effort isn't amounting to anything at all. Imagining applying to job, reaching out to the hiring managers, not getting back from them, and then waking up the next morning to see a rejection email. So I actually love, and if you're listening to this, that idea that you've been holding on to for a while, this is your cue to actually start working on it. You never know where it's going to amount to, right? So I'm really glad to hear that you are actually job seekers actually taking initiative. Exactly, this is the podcast I'm doing. I'm a naturally shy person. I hate being on camera, right? I've been posting on LinkedIn for maybe a year or more than a year or 3 years, I can't recall. But I rarely show my face. All of a sudden, I'm doing podcast. I had to do it because I know there's a need for job seekers. I know how hard it has been emotionally particularly. And my husband has been a very, 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 very great support system for me. And most times when I stay and think of other job seekers that don't have a support system, how are they faring? I saw on LinkedIn a lady posted that her father committed suicide because he has been applying for jobs for over a year, yet nothing to show for it. So all these factors just, it just pushed me to leave my comfort zone and actually start this podcast to hear from job seekers, share their stories, and feel relaxed, just chat about their experience so far. Yeah, I'm actually so I'm really glad that this is actually happening. So, how have you been coping? Like, apart from the financial aspect, emotionally, like, how have you been keeping it sane, basically?
I would say, honestly, like I said, it's been hard. It's every day I wake up without a job. I feel the pressure. I feel the burden of being the head of household and not pulling my weight. So it's a challenge to wake up every morning and look my wife in the eye and tell her that, well, I have this going on, and then I come back and 3 days later, oh, they decided to move into a different direction with somebody younger or somebody that went to Harvard or something like that. And it's hard to do that, and I've never put myself in a position where I've thought about ending things, just like the LinkedIn story you just talked about. I know that it's a light at the end of the tunnel. It's just a matter of how long is the damn tunnel. So,
Gosh,
you know, it's, it's just, I know things are going to change. I know that something is going to come right on time. I serve a God that's never failed me.
yeah,
And I know that everything happens when it's supposed to happen, and it puts you in the right place at the right time where you need to be.
yeah,
As a person, like I said, as a neurodivergent person, I do a lot of rumination with things that have happened in my past, like mistakes I made, like, oh man, maybe 20 years ago I should have waited and went to UPenn or Harvard to get my MBA. I probably wouldn't be unemployed right now. I'd probably be a millionaire somewhere in Silicon Valley or something like that. But I think about all the good things that have happened over the last 20 years, because this year will be 20 years since I started when I got my MBA, and I can't live in that regret. If I live in that regret, then it's just basically going to continue to cripple me, and it's not going to help me move forward to where I'm actually supposed to be and the opportunity that lies ahead. So I keep that in mind when trying to keep myself positive, keep myself moving forward, keep myself doing the things that I'm supposed to do in order to make sure that my family's taken care of and I continue to grow professionally. So
yeah.
that's it.
Yeah, I believe in Christ. I believe all things work together for our good. And it's in this, very depressing period that we actually have to hold on to our belief, our faith that everything happens for a reason. If you're a Christian, nothing just happens randomly. Everything has already been
Hmm.
placed side by side. So in this very down moment for job seekers, we should hold on to ourselves, particularly if you have a support system, if you have your family, your friend, basically someone to share this burden with. It's actually a good place to start. So you mentioned you have over 20 years of experience. How was your network? Have you tried reaching out, because there is a popular saying that job seekers have to reach out to their network. You also have to reach out to hiring managers. Have you tried that route, and what was the result so far? Reaching out to your network or so?
Yeah, so I'll start with the first thing, because I know you mentioned it earlier in the podcast about reaching out directly to hiring managers, reaching out directly to recruiters. Here's the problem. What's happened, especially here in the US with AI, is that so many people do that. So many people get premium LinkedIn accounts, people get in-mails. So, every time I log on to see a job on LinkedIn, for example, it'll say 100 people have applied in the first 3 hours. I'm like, how? But it's because of the emergence of AI. AI is now to a point where, even though it still has areas of maturity and it's going to continue to mature, obviously, in terms of reducing the level of hallucination, making things more human centered and less artificial per se. The thing that's also happened is that it's accelerated people's ability to apply for jobs. So, like I said, I've applied to over 1,000 jobs in the last several months. I would probably say 80% of that is AI. And what has happened is that you can go into a post, you can say, you see the easy apply thing, you put your resume in, you answer the questions, and you hit submit. And what's up, I'll do sometimes, if it's a job within an industry and a role that I actually like, I will do the next step of, oh, let me just go and reach out to the recruiter. And if you're lucky, you can reach out to them for free and not use your email. And I'll create a cover letter. I'll use AI to, optimize my resume and create a cover letter and send it to them and get absolutely no response. Because here's the thing that a lot of people don't realize is that a lot of these companies are also using AI to not only search for candidates, but also to vet messages that they get, and whether it's resumes that they receive for the application or cover letters or anything of that regard. And some of these companies are just making you persona non grata if you do that. So it's one of these things where there's not a lot of time for people to do things, and people are trying to find work and trying to use ways to shortcut things, or I will not say shortcut because that sounds negative. I'll be more positive. Time save. And it's um it's hard because people are getting inundated with thousands of resumes for certain jobs, especially at the bigger companies
Yeah.
like your Metas, your Alphabets, your Teslas, your Netflix, places like that, Microsoft, and things like that. They're getting inundated with thousands of resumes for each job application. So now, one or two things has to happen. A lot, especially at my level, most of the times that people are getting roles, it's that they are um, either friends of the people in the company who are hiring, or they're the competition, or they're being hired away from the competition, saying, "Oh, you work for Meta? Okay, come to Google and do the same thing." Or
Yeah.
if you are with an MBB, "Oh, you're at McKinsey as an associate partner. Okay, come to Bain and be an associate partner. We'll pay you more and we'll give you more work-life balance." So there's a huge hidden job market that's out there, or roles that are being advertised but are not really available, if that makes sense. So so it's really, to your point, about your network and knowing the right people in the right places that can actually make sure that you get an actual look. So, and for me, with a lot of friends that I've had, a lot of people I've tried to network with, the networking has also been a level of therapy for me to air things out and figure out what's happening. Because a lot of times I reach out to people that I've not spoken to in years that I know that cannot help me because not in a position to say, "Oh, Rich, I can get you a look." But I just talk to them anyway just to stay encouraged because we're all in the same fight at the end of the day. Whether they're employed or unemployed or self-employed or entrepreneurs, we're all trying to help each other out because a lot of people just don't know what's happening right now. So there's a lot of different ways to do it, but one of the things I try to do is try to optimize my LinkedIn profile because a lot of recruiters are using AI bots to find people
Yeah.
on LinkedIn. So I just have to continue to optimize my profile, post every once in a while just to really get my algorithm in a different sphere so that I can get seen.
Yeah. So far, since you've been posting on LinkedIn and also, oh, okay, before that, you mentioned that you reach out to your network basically to, air your heart out, to speak about what's happening. As earlier on in my job search, I find it hard to make friends, literally. So I had no one to actually talk to, you know. And that's why I'm
Mm.
really grateful for my husband, a supportive partner. But if you're a job seeker listening to this, you need someone to talk to. You need someone in your circle to talk to. It's a very hard, heavy burden that one person can't take all the burden. You need to share with someone to actually feel better. Now back to my question. You mentioned you've been posting on LinkedIn. So far so good. How has it impacted your search in any way? Has anyone reached out to you like, oh, I saw your post. I would like to, just basically reach out to you with opportunities based on your LinkedIn, your online presence. Yeah.
Actually, it has. I think as it's become evident, going back to what we were talking about earlier with the election, things have begun to thaw out here a little bit because now businesses have adjusted their operating model for the new reality of what this administration could and most likely will do.
Yeah.
So what has happened is that now I have received a few more reach outs and things are starting to turn the corner in terms of ability to get on people's radars. I've continued to try to the same thing, apply for jobs that I see, reach out to people in my network to have conversations. But now I'm starting to get people who I've never met in my life say, "Hey, we got this role here. Let's have a conversation about it."
Yeah.
So things are starting to turn the corner at more recently. In fact, actually, in a few hours after this podcast, I actually do have an interview. I won't disclose the name because I do not want to jinx myself. But I am still, trying to, keep things moving and keep the ball moving down the field. But now it feels like I'm actually gaining some yards here. I know, it's getting better, and I'm keeping positive about it and just trying to do what I can to maintain that positive attitude. But one of my favorite players of all time, Kobe Bryant, says, he said, I don't believe in the thing of not putting all your eggs in one basket. Put all your eggs in one basket and then go get some more eggs.
Wow.
So that's what I'm doing. So that's what I'm
Wow.
doing.
Yeah. So this is
So
actually
I was
yeah. No, go on, go on.
no, I was saying that for this interview today, I was basically up for a couple of hours last night. I think I only got about 5 hours of sleep before we talked. Just prepping for the interview, using a combination of AI, YouTube, Google research, and everything just to make sure that I have my story in the right place. Understand who I'm talking to, doing some research on that person, what they've done, uh, the services that they provided based on the work that they do with the company that they're working with, and just being able to craft a story and be able to shape what I have to say
Yeah.
to that point. And people say, "Why are you putting all that in? This is just one job. If you don't get this job," I said, "Yeah." But that because I'm putting all this in one job does not mean that I'm not thinking about other things that I have going on. Does not mean I'm not taking
Exactly.
calls. Does not mean I'm not out here doing what I'm supposed to do. I'm still trying to develop the side hustle and develop that piece. I am potentially working on putting out an album this year and the book. And there's certain things that I'm still doing while still maintaining my peace of mind, maintaining my balance, and maintaining my family. So just because I get one interview does not mean that the rest of things don't stop.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm putting all of my eggs in this basket, but I got more eggs over here for another basket. So that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, I wish you the best of luck in your interview today. A quick tip, I know you prepared a lot, but I would like to add that you should focus more on stories, right? Like you mentioned, your story, it should be more of a conversation, and you could also add a bit of what's it called, achievements you've made. I'm sure you're going to do a great job already, and I wish you the best of the best. And I would like to hear back from you about the interview though.
Well, yeah, definitely. I'll definitely let you know how it went.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, based on your book and your album, I would like to listen to your album. So you can send the link to me, maybe via LinkedIn or email or whatever platform that is convenient for you. Yeah.
Yep, I'll send it to you. And then for those who are listening, if you do want to listen to it yourself, you can go to richbrand, RICHBRAND .bandcamp.com. And then my single will be up there. You can listen to it for free, or you can bless the offering plate and download it. So I would appreciate the latter. So I appreciate that in advance. Thank you.
All right, all right. So back to our discussion on personal branding. You have an interview, so I'll be very quick. I remember when I was like literally on LinkedIn, always sharing my knowledge, what I've done so far, project I'm working, and then a founder reached out to me that, oh, Victoria, I love what you do. I love how you write. Are you interested in, writing for our company as a technical writer? And I'm like, okay. But when I lost that contract, I did not get myself for more than 8 months. I never came online. Like I came online, but just basically to scroll, read other people, consume content, but not produce my own content. So based on what Rich is sharing with us right now, if you're listening to this episode, you need to put yourself out there. There are lots of opportunities in particularly LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a professional space with lots of leaders. There are new startups come up every day. So the more you put yourself in front of people, the more they get to know you and the more they reach out to you. So this is your cue also to start posting on LinkedIn, start sharing your stories on LinkedIn. It doesn't have to be very historic, something very simple, or maybe how your day went, or maybe if you got an interview, how your resume tips, your cover letter, just something simple basically. So Rich, how do you feel now? Like I know you've always been sharing your experience with your colleagues and friends, but coming to this podcast today and talking about your experience, how do you feel, how do you feel basically sharing your story, and what would you tell job seekers that are still, it takes a lot to make the decision to come out and share a story, vulnerable moment. It could also be embarrassing for some people. So it takes a lot to make that decision. So how do you feel after speaking on this podcast, and what would you say to other job seekers listening?
Yeah, I say I definitely feel better about getting on here and sharing my story because it's a story that thousands, if not millions of people, not just in the US, but just around the world are going through right now because of everything that's happening and all the different changes and shifts from a existential standpoint, whether it's the environment, whether it's politics, that are having an impact on people's ability to work, whether it's blue collar manufacturing, service, operation based companies, SaaS based companies. It's just, it's gonna be it's gonna turn around. And the advice that I would give to job seekers is that don't stay idle. Just continue to keep moving, even if you're crawling. Continue to keep moving. I mean, everything's not going to be a sprint. Everything's not going to happen in the right amount of time. I know it's discouraging when you're looking at your bank account and you just see the number going down, 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 down. Just keep moving, And I would say, um, look at different ways to do things. I mean, it's a new time, it's a new age, and the old way of looking for jobs is dead. Now, if this were 20 years ago, I probably would have had a job within a few
Yeah.
months, but it's a different time. And also the more experience you have, the longer it's going to take to find a job. I mean, I was hearing that the
Wow.
average stat now, whether you're entry level all the way up to executive, the average time for people to find jobs is at least 6 months. So it's gonna be a long haul. If you're in a job now, or people who are looking at finding a new job and you already have a job now, do not leave your job until you find something new. I
Yeah.
have talked to people who were sick and tired of being sick and tired of their job, but didn't have a plan, a downfall from there, or something to fall back on, or something to, say, oh, I'm going to move to here. You know, Things could get rough. I mean, obviously, if you're involuntary terminated, that's an area of concern. That's not an area of control. You can't control that. So it's just a matter of just continuing to keep the faith, continue to keep moving. And remember, for those who practice Christianity, the Bible says faith without works is dead. So all the praying, all the belief means absolutely nothing if you just sit idle. get out there and do the work. Get out there and do what you're supposed to do. In fact, like I said, when I get off of this podcast, I'm going to get up and do the work. So just continue to stay moving forward, continue to stay encouraged, and just know that what's for you is for you and it's going to come in the right amount of time. Even if you feel like it's not in your time is not God's time. So just continue to keep it moving and continue to stay encouraged.
So if you're a believer like the both of us, you need to, hold on to your faith and believe that when it comes big, right? So thank you so much, Rich, for your word of advice. And then I have a question for you. I asked all our guests on the podcast, if you have the power of the universe to do anything, literally anything, what is that one thing you will change or do?
I could wake up tomorrow morning and say, and it's funny, I talk about this all the time. It's something I think is called the hedgehog concept. Something that is your gift, your passion, your purpose that you get paid for. Honestly, it would be music. I would love to just be able to wake up every morning, not have to worry about looking for jobs, and I could just sit all day and produce music and just write ideas and create things and get things out and get ideas out. There's been
Wow.
many a times where I follow producers on social media and they'll do their live feeds and I'll just hop in and listen to like, oh guys, check this out. Should I put this out? Should I put this out? Or this is coming out, or this is my experience. And I sit there and I'll start analyzing the music real time, and even other artists are like, yeah, that's right. Yeah, this guy Rich Brand knows what he's talking about.
Wow.
It's very interesting. I mean, I had a radio show for 8 years. Um, where
Wow.
I played music, and even some of the demos that I had, uh, I would slide in there every once in a while, and people say, "Oh, you should put that out. That was really nice what you did when you did your little interlude thing in your break in between the shows."
Yeah.
I think I would love to be in the music industry, but not in the music industry. If that makes sense, because when people think in the music industry, they think all of the bad side. I would love to do this where it was my own thing and I'm basically an independent artist and just be able to do that every single day. Continue to learn, get better at playing the keyboard, get better at producing, and just continue to network and collaborate with different people. In fact, with the album I'm thinking of putting out, I'm collaborating with a friend of mine who's a independent artist. I would say out of DC, but she just moved here to the LA area. And between the both of us, like we have enough connections where we could, make this album happen. She's actually put out 2 albums, so I got to catch up. But that's what I would love to do, honestly. Like I said,
Wow.
everything that I talked about in terms of my transformation experience and everything, there's a gift. I say it's a gift, and the passion is not as great as the gift and the purpose of what I do. But when it comes to music, because of everything that's out there and just the lack of quality that you get exposed to without having to actually go out and get it, that would be really my hedgehog concept if I could make that happen.
Oh, I really look forward to listening to your album and also your work with your friend. Yeah. Yeah, I see a lot of potential in your music career, so keep it up. I'm going to follow up on you on this, right? Okay, so we've come to the end of our podcast for today. Thank you so much, Rich, for joining. Even with the interview you have, you still have to make time to, feature in our podcast today. Thank you so much. We're so grateful. And I really wish you the best of the best
Not a
in your
problem.
interview. Yeah.
And thank you. And thank you for having me.
Yeah. So, okay, dear listeners, I will link Rich's LinkedIn profile and I will also link our story form in the description below. So, if you feel encouraged after listening to Rich's story, then you have to be our guest to share your story, reach out to more people. You never know who is going to listen to your episode. Who knows, you might even get an offer just by sharing your experience and story here. So, I look forward to hearing from you. Till next time, stay positive. Bye. Have a great day.
All right, take care. You too.